The scene for a movie version of Twilight Zone attempted to recreate the terror and the carnage of the hell that was Vietnam. And then, as the crew watched in horror early this morning, the make-believe dissolved and actor Vic Morrow and 2 Vietnamese children were killed.
The worst thing you could ever see would be 3 people, and particularly 2 children, killed right on the film.
They were filming a war scene, a helicopter, 2 children, a Hollywood icon. But what happened next wasn't movie magic. It was real, and it was fatal. This is the tragedy of the Twilight Zone. In 1982, Hollywood was preparing to remake a cult classic, The Twilight Zone, an anthology film with 4 segments, each directed by a different big name.
John Landis, American Werewolf in London. Steven Spielberg, E.T. Joe Dante, The Howling. George Miller, Mad Max.
Landis, known for Animal House and the Blues Brothers, took on the Vietnam War segment. It was meant to be a redemption story. Vic Morrow's character, racist, bitter, would travel back in time and redeem himself by rescuing 2 Vietnamese children during a US raid. But instead of redemption, what unfolded was one of the darkest moments in film history.
The film, when you first see it, it's just overwhelming.
The gruesome deaths were recorded on numerous cameras and shown repeatedly at the trial.
On July 23, 1982, filming began near Valencia, California, in a location called Indian Dunes. It was 2:30 a.m. Against California child labor laws, 2 children, Micah Din Lee, 7, and Renee Chen, 6, were on set. There were no permits for them to work at night, no child welfare worker, no fire safety officer, and no parents present. Director John Landis wanted an intense, chaotic sequence, pyrotechnics, a hovering helicopter, and Vic Morrow carrying both children through a flooded village under simulated attack. What happened next is hard to stomach. As the explosions went off, the low-flying helicopter lost control. It dipped, it spun, and then it crashed into the trio. Vic Morrow was decapitated by a rotor blade. Micah and Renee were crushed instantly. One of the children was still in Morrow's arms. There was no second take. The set went silent, and Hollywood scrambled. Director John Landis and 4 crew members were charged with involuntary manslaughter, a first in the film industry. The trial became a media circus.
Involved in the film face criminal charges for the Twilight Zone chopper crash.
Trial for manslaughter. The director of that sequence in which a helicopter crashed and killed 3 actors is John Landis. He was one of 3 singled out to face criminal charges.
This court believes that a crime, to wit, involuntary manslaughter, was in fact committed by certain principals on the set during the early morning hours of July 23rd in the filming of the final segment, The Twilight Zone, the movie.
Along with Director Landis, the special effects coordinator, Paul Stewart, and the chopper pilot, Dorsey Wingo, were ordered to stand trial. Afterward, John Landis had mixed feelings.
I am greatly relieved for my friends, George Folsey and Dan Allingham. I'm also extremely disheartened to learn that at this stage of the judicial process, being innocent is apparently not enough.
Witnesses claimed Landis ignored safety warnings, that he pushed for bigger explosions, that the pilots said it was too dangerous.
Well, I'm sure the evidence will make it clear to the judge where the fault lies in this case. I'm just happy that we've been able to go this far with the love and support of our friends, my family, my dear wife and son. I'm very grateful for all the support. Hundreds of letters that have come to us, helping us on under all this pressure. And that's all I have to say now.
But in 1987, after 5 years, they were all acquitted. No one served jail time.
Director John Landis was in a rare good humor as he smiled and shook hands with fellow defendants, pilot Dorsey Wingo and special effects coordinator Paul Stewart.
Warner Brothers settled out of court with the families, quietly, behind NDAs. 3 lives were lost, and not a single person paid the price. The tragedy led to new safety protocols for child actors and special effects, but many felt it was too little too late. John Landis continued directing films, his career uninterrupted. But for Vic Morrow's family, and the families of Mika and Renee, the wounds never healed. The worst part, it didn't need to happen. In a chilling interview just years before his death, Vic Morrow said, "I've always had a premonition I'd die in a helicopter crash while filming." He wasn't wrong. But no one imagined 2 children would die with him. This wasn't an accident. It was negligence, hubris. A system that puts spectacle over safety. 3 people died, but the cameras kept rolling. Hollywood's unofficial motto has always been, "The show must go on." And it did. But at what cost? This case should have been a wake-up call, but the silence that followed was deafening. There were no documentaries, no industry-wide reckoning, no apologies that reached the public. In fact, many still don't even know this happened. If a tragedy this horrific can be buried in film history, what else has been? Every explosion, every stunt, every scream you hear in a movie, someone had to make it happen. But when something goes wrong, who takes responsibility? The next time you see a war film, a fireball, a child running through chaos, remember the names. Vic Morrow, Micah Dinlay, Renee Chen. They weren't actors that day. They were victims. This was the Twilight Zone tragedy, and Hollywood still hasn't answered for it. What do you think happened that night? Was it truly an accident, or something worse? Comment your theory. Like, comment, and subscribe to WildFearStudios. And remember, feed the fear.